Toru Iwatani decided upon a game with a theme about eating, as he felt eating was something everyone enjoyed, including women, especially with sweets and desserts. Iwatani's childhood love of manga, cartoons, and doodling in textbooks from his school days had shaped his thought process and affinity for the visual designs in his work. Casper the Friendly Ghost and Obake no Kyutaro helped form the basis of the ghost designs. The enemies were modeled after ghosts and monsters, as these beings often served villain roles in popular media. They were given big eyes to make them more expressive, a practice common in manga and anime, which itself was influenced by American cartoons like Betty Boop. Facial features like eyes were considered for Pac-Man as well, but they were ultimately dropped as it made it tempting to keep adding other details such as glasses or a mustache, and it also went against the goal of creating simple character designs, a goal that was influenced by Japanese philosophy to uphold simplicity for its beauty. The distinct bright yellow Pac-Man is associated with was chosen as the team felt the color was peaceful and neutral. As Pac-Man was in development, fellow Namco arcade title Galaxian was being worked on using a state-of-the-art RGB display that allowed for in-game sprites to be individually colored, rather than rely on colored cellophane sheets, which increased the vibrancy and detail in its presentation. The Pac-Man team took advantage of the display to use eye-catching pastel colors, which Iwatani believed would make the game more attractive. This is possibly why a Galaxian boss ship can be found in the game as a bonus fruit, which started a long-running in-joke of having a Galaxian appear in Namco titles through cameos. Namco President Masaya Nakamura asked for the ghost to be uniform in a red color. Iwatani resisted and produced a survey for Nakamura to read, asking for either uniform or multicolored ghosts among Namco employees, which concluded with nobody choosing Nakamura's suggestion. The team chose to make the maze color muted so that the principal characters would stand out and seem even more bright and vibrant, while also designing the walls of the maze with a neon tube aesthetic. Pac-Man's design of an incomplete circle came from Iwatani modifying the Japanese character for mouth, Kuchi, by rounding it out. The other, but more famous reasoning for Pac-Man's design was when Iwatani was eating a slice of pizza, and the resulting shape of the rest of the pizza appealed to him. This is something of a video game legend in the sense that there is a basis to the story, but it has been romanticized by the media, and later Namco themselves. Iwatani was researching a keyword relating to the concept of eating, and he stumbled upon an image of pizza with a slice taken out, and he decided upon this design that would become familiar to millions of people. With the theme of eating being the basis for the gameplay, Toru Iwatani and his team placed Pac-Man in a field of food. Iwatani came to feel that this lacked focus and that the goal of the game would be obscure to players. He resolved this with the inclusion of a maze to provide a structure to guide the players through with only 4 directional inputs. Ghosts were added soon after to provide tension, and each ghost was given a distinct personality or movement pattern to keep the game interesting. Plus, it kept in line with the goal of creating memorable and relatable characters. The relationship between the game's cast was based around the playful feuds of the title leads from Tom and Jerry, and the likable villain aspect of Tom served as inspiration to make the ghost just as charming as the protagonist.
One custard pie? Let me have it!
The AI for the ghost was the most complex aspect of Pac-Man and took around a year to fine-tune. Programmer Shigeo Funaki was largely responsible for realizing the ghost's then relatively complex AI behavior. The warp tunnel was included after it was determined to be a bit difficult to maneuver around the sides of the maze with ghosts pursuing Pac-Man. Iwatani's love of pinball and work on the GB Trilogy can be seen in Pac-Man, with the inclusion of score multipliers for eating ghosts in continuous succession, along with the bonus fruit items placed in the middle of the maze. Fruits like cherries are a common motif in slot machines and pinball, which is why fruit serves as a bonus item. Iwatani indicated that he started running out of fruit designs to use, which is why the game includes the Galaxian boss, a bell, and a key. The Galaxian boss was chosen partly for its distinct design. The bell was chosen since it was another recurring motif in slot machines, whereas the key was picked out of personal attachment. In high school, Iwatani had a hobby of making metal accessories like keys. The image of keys came to possess a mysterious meaning to him in the sense that they can represent access, protection, or dangerous things that should remain locked away. Power pellets were made late in development to provide players a chance to reverse the power play, and the team found that it ultimately made the game much more interesting to play. With the addition of power pellets, also known as energizers, Iwatani's team included the first power-ups in a video game, a feature he said that was inspired by Popeye cartoons where Popeye would eat spinach to gain the upper hand against his nemesis, Bluto. It has also been said that a Japanese children's story about a creature that protected children from monsters by eating them through the use of a life force reinforced this mechanic's addition. Iwatani also pushed for what he called coffee breaks, short, comical intermissions between levels which featured Pac-Man and Blinky chasing each other. His reasoning was that it would offer players a quick break and an incentive to keep playing to watch the coffee breaks. His team, however, was unanimously against the inclusion as it had no bearing or effect on the gameplay, but Iwatani got his way in the end, leading to one of the first cutscenes featured in a video game. During development, there were several concepts that were conceived but ultimately dropped, either because of technical limitations or for complicating the gameplay. There were plans to introduce shutters in the maze that would squish the ghosts, and, apparently, even a missile attack was considered for Pac-Man. Interestingly enough, there is an unused explosion sprite that exists in the game which may have been intended to be applied to the scrapped attack. Looking back, Iwatani said that it was good that the team was limited by the technology they had at the time, as they could have ended up adding unnecessary mechanics that would have muddled the core gameplay experience. Toshio Kai, with the help of Shigechi Ishimura, the hardware planner, worked on the sound and created the iconic Pac-Man opening and coffee break themes. He was also in charge of the sound effects such as the ghost turning blue and the eating sound effects. Iwatani himself demonstrated the eating sound effects he wanted Kai to implement in the game by eating fruit loudly and gurgling it. The team that developed the Pac-Man game was done by 4 key people, while 2 Namco members, whose names have been possibly lost to history, worked on the physical arcade cabinets. The last 3 members are officially Kazunori Sawano, the designer of Galaxian, Koichi Tashiro, the programmer for Galaxian and co-designer for Rally X, and Shigeru Yokoyama, the designer and director for Galaga. Despite being documented as a part of the Pac-Man development team, Iwatani had said that none of these 3 had done significant work, if any, on Pac-Man.